And so it was that on the eve of battle, the battle formations have formed. And then Dhritarashtra asks, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. And so Dhritarashtra is asking, in the great Dharmakshetra, meaning the field of justice or dharma, Kurukshetra, that's the name of the battle, actual battlefield. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre, in the field of Kurukshetra, my sons and my nephews, Pandavas, have gathered full of war, lust and enthusiasm. When they faced off against each other, O Sanjaya, what was the outcome? And then Sanjaya begins to describe. Sanjaya says, O Dhritarashtra, the armies gathered against each other. The Pandavas were led by the indomitable Arjuna with Krishna as his charioteer, and by Drishtadyumna, Draupadi's brother. And the Kauravas were led by Bhishma. And Duryodhana gathered all the Kauravas, Karna and Drona and others. And he tells Drona and everybody that gathered in front of us are the indomitable Pandavas. Your job is to protect Bhishma. Protect Bhishma with all your might. He gives instructions. And then as if in response to this, Bhishma takes his conch and blows the conch, which makes a thundering sound. And behind that is accompanied the clanging of drums and bells and all other conches. And in response to this, the Pandavas blow their conches one by one. And finally, Arjuna blows his conch and Krishna blows his Panchajanya. That is the name of Krishna's conch, and Devadatta is Arjuna's conch. And so the war is about to begin. And then Arjuna says, now I don't want to deviate from Vyasa from this point on. So I'm going to read from you. So it is translated by Swami Kriyananda. He says, O changeless Krishna, I respectfully ask thee to guide my chariot between the two armies. Let me study those warriors who willingly support Duryodhana. On hearing these words of Arjuna, Krishna drove the best of chariots to a point between the armies. Behold, O Arjuna, this mighty gathering of the Kurus. Arjuna is the greatest warrior, filled with war lust. And then what happens when he sees these great warriors? Arjuna beheld in front of him his own relatives, grandfathers, fathers, fathers-in-law, maternal uncles, brothers and cousins, sons and grandsons, comrades, past friends, teachers. And then an interesting thing begins to happen. Put yourself in Arjuna's shoes. What would I do? Suddenly, he begins to have second thoughts. Observing the far-flung array of his own kith and kin before him, Arjuna was filled with pity, and he spoke sorrowfully. O Krishna, seeing these, my own relatives, gathered together, ready to fight us, my strength fails me, my limbs quiver, my mouth becomes parched, my whole body trembles, my hair stands on end, the sacred bough of Gandhiva slips from my grasp, and my skin is on fire. I cannot remain upright. My mind loses all focus. What a strange thing. Faint of heart, Arjuna. And he goes on to rationalize this decision. I crave no victory, nor kingdom, nor the rewards. Of what use would these hollow gains be? I see no way out of my dilemma. My affliction pounds my senses, he says. It would persist even if I were to attain untold riches and dominion. I would endure even if I were to be placed in kingship over the gods. Then Sanjaya tells Dhritarashtra, who is sitting with bated breath, having addressed Krishna, the scorcher of foes, Arjuna, declared further, I will not fight. And he let his bow drop from his grasp, and he sits slumped in his chariot. faint of heart. And then, what did Krishna say? I will try and repeat for you wherever I can in Sanskrit so you can get the sense, because Vyasa has preserved these words for us so that they can reach across time and space and still resonate in our hearts. Listen to Krishna's words. He says, Klaibyam masmagamaha partha naitattvai upapadyate anarya jushtama swargama kirtikaram Arjuna kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitim kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktva uttishta parantapa. He says, where this faintness of heart at this critical moment, this will not bring you peace in this lifetime, nor will this give you peace and prosperity in your next life. He says, this is a weakness of the heart. He says it is less than nothing. Kshudram hridaya daurbalyam. It's less than nothing. Tyaktva, throw it away. Uttishta, stand up, O scorcher of foes. Arjuna is quivering, hearing the words of God reach directly into his heart and pull at his deepest fears. Ask yourself, what would I do? Why, if at all I did this, would I do what Arjuna did? Ask yourself. And then Krishna smiles, says, beautiful verse, Tamuvacha Hrishikeshaha prahasanniva bharata senayor ubhayor madhye vishidantamidam vachaha. Sanjaya tells Dhritarashtra, then God smiled at his devotee, and standing in between the two armies, he spoke in this fashion. What did Krishna say? He says, he asks a question that completely changes the game. It resonates to us across centuries. He says, Yayenam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tauna vijanito nayam hantina hanyate. Says, who are you to kill? Who are they to die? The soul is indestructible, he says. Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavakaha nachainam kledayanti nanu shoshayati marutaha. Nainam chindanti shastrani, the soul cannot be destroyed by weapons. Nainam dahati pavakaha, it cannot be burned by fire. Nachainam kledayanti it cannot be destroyed by wind. Nanu shoshayati, it cannot be wet by water. Nanu shoshayati marutaha, it cannot be destroyed by wind. And then he goes on to say these immortal words, giving us hope beyond death. He says, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara prapthir dhiras tatra namuchyati. Just as you take a piece of worn clothing and cast it away to get new ones, so it is that the soul, without losing its identity, casts away one body and gets itself into the new body. He says, who are you to kill? Who are they to die? He frames the whole thing in the much larger karmic context of destruction of evil. And then he says, Ashochyan anvashochastvam pragyavadamscha bhashase gatasu nagatasumscha nanu shochanti panditaha. You speak like a learned one about this and that, but the real learned ones grieve for neither that are living nor that are dead. But it causes suffering. Oh Lord, how can I get over that? And then Krishna says, Matras parsyastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha agama payino nityastham sthitiksha bharata. When your senses come in contact with this impermanent creation, they experience hot and cold, pain and suffering and happiness. Know that all of these are impermanent. Titiksha, practice titiksha, the practice of forbearance, that of patience. But Arjuna says, the mind is restless. Why is it? I hear what you're saying. And then Krishna says, it's beautiful 2 verses, listen to this. To vishayan pumsah sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamah kamat krodho bhijayate krodhat bhavati sammohah sammohat smriti vibhramah smriti bhramshat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashyati. He chronicles the descent of the soul that he says, dwelling on sense objects breeds attachment to them. And from attachments is created desire. When desires are thwarted, Like a fire, anger springs from us. And krodad bhavati sammohaha. Anger refers to our innate quality of rationalization, of deluding ourselves, which makes us rationalize any evil. Sammoha, delusion. From anger comes delusion. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. From delusion, we forget our true nature and we begin to think about uncles and fathers-in-law and forget the true karmic destiny. Smriti bhramshat buddhi nasho, you lose the ability to discriminate. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. And therefore, you end up like this, Arjuna. And then he gives a way out of it. He says, Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhas siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. He says, be established in equanimity. Don't react to anything. Established in this yoga of non-reactivity, face the battle, fight. And in this way, you will fulfill your destiny. Arjuna has all kinds of doubts. He keeps asking question after question, even after this. And Krishna says, Dhyayato vishayan pumsahas sangasteshu upajayat. Forgive me, he says, Vyavasayatmika buddhirekeha kuru nandana bahushaka hyanam chascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. He says, be one-minded. For those that are singularly focused on their goal, the mind is also singularly focused. It doesn't go here or there. If you have focused action, from that comes focused mind. Unfocused action, doubt, scatters our energies. And then he says, the way to focus your mind is meditation. And he offers the following as a technique. He says, apane juhvati pranam, pranapane tathapare, pranapana gatiridhyasva, pranayama parayanaha. That means offer the outgoing breath to the incoming breath, and the incoming breath to the outgoing breath. And in this way, break the flow of breath itself. And through this pranayama, you can calm the reactive focus. And then he says, but don't think too much. Action is clarifying. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetur bhur mate sangostva karmani. He says, know that you are only right, your only destiny, the only thing you are entitled to is to finish the job, your duty that is in front of you. The farmer tills the soil, that is his duty. God decides whether he gets the fruit or not. That is God's duty. You're not entitled to it, so don't think about what happens to all of them. Don't labor under the misapprehension that you can walk away from the battle. Mate sangostva karmani, don't be attached to inaction, he says. And with this nishkama karma, he says, you will see wisdom. Nahi jnanena sadrusham pavitramiva na vidyate. There is no greater purifier than the inner wisdom that dawns in the devotee through action. And then he says, if you find this difficult, Arjuna, whatever you do, offer it to me. The war, if you do a good thing, you do a bad thing, you're competent, you're incompetent, offer it to me. Your weaknesses, your strengths, give it to me. And then he goes on to say, even what you eat, even when you digest, see my hand in there. He's referring God. See my hand in there, he says. And he gives this beautiful shloka. He says, Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihi, Brahmagyam Brahmanahutim, Brahmaivatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhinaha. And what that means is that the food that I eat is offered to God. The ladle that I eat it with is because of God's power. The fire that digests it is God. And in this way, the nutrition that I get from it is meant for God's work. And in this way, when I keep God in mind all the time, how can I not know what the right thing to do? How can I not be in samadhi, sama, equanimity, samatvam? How can I not attain that non-reactive state? And then he says, God Here, let me show you. Let me read once again. You cannot grasp my full form with mortal eyes. Now, therefore, I give you divine sight. Behold, my supreme yoga power. And his friend, Krishna, assumes his cosmic form. And Sanjaya says to Dhritarashtra, the exalted Lord of Yoga revealed to Arjuna his supreme divine form. What did Arjuna see? Where 1,000 suns appear together in the sky, their brilliance could suggest but dimly the splendor of this exalted being. There in that vision did Arjuna behold the vast universe with its endless divisions, all united as one within the form of the God of gods. Then Arjuna, wonderstruck, the follicles of his hair on his arms rising in awe, prayerfully joined his palms together and bowing to the head of the Lord exclaimed, marveling, Hail to thee in front, behind, and everywhere, boundless in power, immeasurable in might, thou art in all, and therefore thou art all. For whatever disrespect I may have shown to thee in jest, addressing thee as friend, companion, Krishna, Govinda, speaking carelessly but through affection, and for any irreverence I may have shown thee light-heartedly, O unshakable Lord, while eating, resting, walking, when we sat together by ourselves or in the company of others, for all such unintended slights, never intended, O illimitable Lord, I beg your forgiveness. And in fear, shaking in awe, Arjuna says, please come back to your human form. And Krishna absorbs his cosmic form into himself. And then, as if to summarize this entire conversation, he says one final thing. Listen to this. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyom mokshayishyami mashuchaha. So he says, forsaking all other dharmas, all other duties, surrender to me alone. I will absolve you of all of your past karmas, all past sins, and grant you liberation. Do not grieve. Such was the immortal conversation between Narayana, the Krishna, and Arjuna, which we know today as the Bhagavadgita. It has reached to us across time and space, and it has inspired, it guides us and can be the pole star if we only have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. So let us celebrate now the presence of the Bhagavad Gita among us. Om Namo Narayana. And so begins the great war between the Pandavas and the Kauravas.